Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast presented by Coinbase. We talk about the NBA, which we are doing on Thursday afternoon from the Mavericks practice court. Womp, womp, womp. Joining me from 6 feet away is Tim Bontemps.
Why are we saying womp, womp, womp?
Because the Mavericks are down 0-3.
And just because the practice court is like not a nice enough venue for your rising
stardom
or something.
Thank you very much to the Mavericks for extending the courtesy. Joining me, someone who's always been extended courtesies by the Mavericks, Van McMahon.
Howdy, partners. As far as people on this podcast, I rank at least second as far as the target of Mavericks angst these days. I appreciate you.
You know what? The Mavericks can't publicly say that I'm anything more than a scoundrel, but privately,
Here's the thing. You weren't wrong. And Luka, after sleeping on it, essentially, obviously we're not going to sit there and ask you, what did you think about Windhorse said? But on the whole issue of his rant at referees, he took a deep breath today and said, hey, he's got to stop doing that. He's got to go away when he wants to yell at the refs. They're always going to have the last words. He vowed to get back to playing fun. This is kind of a monthly thing. You'll remember Game 5 in Oklahoma City where he made a great effort not to get into it with the referees, played very well, talked about, hey, I had to go back to why I love the game. Well, it's time for that again. So we'll see if that makes any impact in Game 4. Now, I do think that the whole Luka frustration factor is overshadowing the fact that the Mavericks are getting their butts kicked because the Boston Celtics are a freaking awesome team, not because Luka has been huffing and puffing and moaning a little bit or a lot of bit. But Luka realized that he went a little bit overboard in Game 3, and he's going to try to get the smile back on his face.
Yeah, I mean, look, McMahon just summed it up. You could say whatever you want about Luka. We've talked about it a lot. The Celtics are the dominant team in the series, but the dominant team in the league. And if today was any indication, the Mavs are ready for summer vacation and the Celtics are ready for a parade.
Yeah, it came time for Mavericks practice today, and I wasn't there because I was doing other stuff, but you guys went on the court and there was no Mavericks.
And I will say this, like people...
That's not the part why the Mavericks
I
were
know,
ready for
People
the
want
parade.
to make a thing about that. Like the Mavericks, a lot of times when there's only one day between games,
Yes.
they won't practice. They'll
Yes,
do a film
I know,
session.
I'm just joking.
That's what they did today, but it was kind of a funny little visual where you've got, hundreds of media members out there for open practice, and they realize, hold on a second, there's something missing out on that American Airlines Center court. Oh, there's no players. So there was that. But no, honestly, the Kyrie and Luka interviews felt almost like a pre-exit interview at a point.
Why do you say that?
Well, so like Luka at one point is talking about just, this is a learning experience. It's a paraphrase, but his first finals being a learning experience, and, he still has a lot to learn, all this sort of thing. And then he kind of caught himself and he said, but it's not off season yet. They still have to win one more game. And, like I said, we're always going to believe. So he caught himself, and Kyrie, Kyrie was talking a lot about kind of big picture positives, that sort of a thing. And he got down to it at one point, and, he said, I'm looking for the exact quote here, but he said, it's all about a pride thing now and just putting our best foot forward. Look,
Perfunctory.
0-156.
It was all perfunctory.
0-156 when teams go down 0-3. The odds of the Mavericks becoming the one are teeny tiny.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a big difference in being swept in the finals and a gentleman's sweep. A gentleman's sweep is like, it's not a competitive series, but it doesn't have that same awful taste of seeing 4-0.
I really don't agree. I don't think.
I agree that nobody wants to be swept.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where just earlier today, Richard Jefferson was talking about getting swept while I was with him. He was talking about getting swept.
He got swept in the finals.
But I'm not sure that it's enough today or tomorrow to like rise up. I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna.
Look,
That's a tough rallying
whatever
cry.
happens over the next 24 hours, if the Mavs extend this series or not, I think when we get a few weeks away from this playoff run, whether it ends on Monday or today or tomorrow or whatever, people are going to look at the Mavs run the same. And to me, the big thing coming out today was, again, we were sitting there listening to the Mavs, and they sound like they're done and more than done. And you listen to the Celtics, and the switch has finally flipped all the way. And these guys, after years of being accused of not finishing games off, not finishing series off, got Jaylen Brown up there talking about how embarrassed he was with the way he played last year in the conference finals, used that as motivation all summer. He won conference finals MVP. He's probably the leader for finals MVP as of now. And then Jason Tatum, I asked him basically about Jaylen's answer, saying, hey, Jaylen was up here talking about being embarrassed about the conference finals. You talked about spraining your ankle in Game 7, not getting the chance to be the first team to close out a 3-0 comeback. What did that do as far as motivation for you? And he said it's a huge part of what has been driven their success this year, because they did let series go too long. They did not take advantage of opportunities, and that's been the thing that's been in the back of their mind all the time. And then you got the crazy coach talking about you got to choke guys out, and you're about to get choke a guy out. I mean, this goes back to after the game, but he likes to splice in UFC clips into their film sessions after practice days and stuff, and he's very fond of saying the most dangerous spot you're in is when you're either about to knock somebody out in a fight or you're about to submit somebody in a UFC fight, because that's right when they can flip it around on you. So
Joe Mazzulla's likes basketball, the town.
Jiu-jitsu.
I think UFC and jiu-jitsu might be higher than both of those.
Okay. Soccer. Man City soccer.
Football.
Soccer in general.
God.
Yeah.
Loves God.
3-pointers.
Yes.
Loves 3-pointers.
3-pointers top of the list.
Right. Loves 3-pointers.
And awkward press conferences.
And he does really love making people feel awkward in press conferences. But
I can relate to that. Not necessarily in press conferences, but in life.
Yeah.
But the Celtics, I've been saying it since the end of the conference finals. They have been in the perfect headspace for a couple of weeks, and they can see the finish line and all these near misses and all the times where they thought they were going to win and they didn't get it done. They want all that to be over. You can sense it, and there's Jason Tatum at the end of the answer he gave to me said, we're as hungry as we've ever been today, up 3-0. And it just feels like, especially after Game 2, when they didn't hit any threes and won, they survived the attempt to blow the game in Game 3 like they have a few times in the past. I feel like an avalanche is coming tomorrow.
And look, they've had this wonderful feast. It's like when we're at the restaurant the other night, out at the Mexican, where they let Wendy in despite wearing shorts.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
First. But
we didn't talk about that.
The star power got him into the restaurant anyway.
I was told that this is what I was told. I was told there was a dress code for the restaurant, no athletic wear.
Wendy showed up wearing shorts.
He showed up looking like he was going to the golf course.
He had to sweet talk his way in. I tell you what, if this was today and then they saw your Sports Center hit, you wouldn't be
get the hell out.
You'd be eating at Denny's or something.
Banned.
But anyways, we have this delicious meal. There's the appetizers, there's the entrees, and then now here comes that big old piece of chocolate cake, and that's what the Celtics are about to eat.
They do in Dallas. They serve these giant pieces of cake.
I mean, they serve giant pieces of cake other places.
Yeah,
I don't think that.
The two biggest pieces of cake I've ever had are meals with you in Dallas.
I mean, the cake at Gibson's is a pretty large cake.
Never had the cake at Gibson's.
That is a cake.
We have time for Cavs Corner.
We
always have time for it. Cavs Corner, sponsored by the end of the finals.
True or false?
Ooh.
Cavs gave the Celtics a tougher series than the Mavericks.
False.
Well, let's.
Excuse me, sir. I believe the Cavs won a game, and I believe without Donovan Mitchell, they were more competitive than the Mavericks.
The Celtics were not locked in particularly.
Oh, is that what I asked?
There's been
I asked
one,
if the Cavs.
There's been one
series.
uncompetitive game in this series. I think for the Mavericks to be able to claim that they gave a tougher series, they do have to win a game.
I suppose the Celtics did lose a game.
They do have
the last game of the playoffs. The Celtics lost. How about that? That'd be the ultimate Cavs Corner.
I got seriously. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean
The hypothetical NBA championship. The Cavs were healthy with Jared Allen. Jared Allen on the court, Donovan Mitchell on the court. We're talking about Cavs raising banner
Jared
number 2.
Allen's
There might be.
questionable.
I think there might be a banner going up at the old Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Gave the Celtics the toughest series.
There should be a banner going
there
up
in the
there.
last year,
because they
last
won the
year that
Western
was the
Conference.
Minnesota crown. Minnesota's in the conference finals. Maybe we're talking about the Cavs in the conference finals next year. Cavs Celtics.
Well,
Yeah.
Part 2.
But no, I mean, look, the Mavericks have to win a game to claim that it was a tougher series. But game 1, dud. Game 2, not pretty but competitive. Game 3, there was the rally that fell short, and then everything got overshadowed by Luka's petulance. And then we'll see what they have for game 4.
Are we stealing a thunder from Cavs Corner, or was that what you
No,
wanted
that
to
was
bring
it.
up?
No, he just won.
That was
He,
it.
he
I don't know
won-
if
he
you're
won
talking about Cavs coaching search or something else.
No,
No, he
when they
won.
resolve it, we'll talk about it. I don't think we need blow by blow.
He wanted to give him a little parade.
I'm just bringing it up because it's more of just a commentary on
The,
the
the maroon and what is it? The
Well,
maroon,
listen.
maroon and gold pom poms. Is that
Listen,
what we got? Wine and gold.
I would
Wine
say
and
this
gold.
has not
Wine
been
and
well. If this is a sweep to this point, it has not been as competitive a sweep as the old Bronze Boomers, Indiana Pacers.
I would agree. So it says something there. The thing about this series, as I said last night, the Mavericks have averaged the Celtics have averaged 106 points.
And that's the thing. Like, there's a ton of focus on Luka's defense, and the blow by percentage is butt ugly, awful. Like the worst by a player or 10 drive minimum per game over the last decade in a playoff series. Having said that, the Mavs' defensive rating with Luka on the floor is 107 and change. He hadn't missed many minutes. He's been on the floor almost all the time. Missed the last 4 minutes, 12 seconds
I'm
last
a lot
night.
more focused on the blow by percentage,
but
because
it's-
he's been god awful on defense.
Right, but 107.4 is like that would have been the number 1 defense in the league. Point being, we can talk about how bad Luka's been defensively in this series. The defense is not the reason the Mavericks are losing the
Exactly
series.
right.
They cannot score. Now, is there because attacking Luka is not just about attacking the weak link. It's about, okay, that guy's going to have the ball in his hands. We're going to make him play one-on-one all night, and he's going to have to work his butt off defensively. So attacking Luka, I think, is as much a defensive strategy for the Celtics almost as it is a strategy for them to score. And I do think it's absolutely been taking a toll on Luka in terms of, he obviously didn't have to finish the game or didn't get to finish the game last night, but fading in the fourth quarter and all that, it all goes hand
he's
in
3
hand.
of 15 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't finished 2 of them. One because it was a white flag, and one because it was the red flag.
Right.
I mean, the Celtics put relentless pressure on you at both ends of the court, and it's really the Celtics have dominated the series at both ends. They have not scored as many points as they would like. They had an 8-minute stretch where they basically just stopped playing offense in game 3. Otherwise, they would have probably got to 120 or so. And in game 2, they got 1,000 wide open threes. If they make their normal number of shots, they score 125 or 130 points in that game, and it's a complete rout.
One of the interesting stats that I was looking at today was the Mavericks are averaging almost 5 dribbles per touch.
Yeah.
Pound.
And there's
Celtics
only
are-
2 guys that are dribbling the
Well,
ball.
that was the thing. Sats
Celtics-
Williams last night told me, we were texting after the game, I believe that Kyrie and Luka combined to have 48 isolation possessions in the game. That is an insane number.
Well, and they're 2 of the best one-on-one players in the world, but the best one-on-one players in the world going one-on-one against this Celtics defense is not going to be good offense.
Well, and by the way, if you're giving up 47 threes, right, you can't win the math. Like the Celtics,
Yeah.
Joe Mazzulla, another thing he really loves is math. And the Celtics play to win the math game all the time. Last night, they had 22 more three-point attempts. I think they had 24 more points from the three-point line. You can't make up that difference if you just got 2 guys shooting all the time.
Celtics averaging 2 dribbles per.
Yeah,
Top
and
per touch.
listen, man, the Celtics play beautiful offense, and that's the thing. Like a lot of the blow-bys on Luka, it's not like it's a blow-by into right into a layup. It's a blow-by, and then it kicks in the rotation.
And a swing.
Yeah, boom, 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 and it might be 3-4 passes later. It might be a drive, on the right wing, kick out to the corner, to the wing, to the top, back to the opposite corner, and it's a wide open 3. But the ball
there's
just
not just
moves.
the blow-bys are recorded are the ones where he gets dribbled past. It doesn't count the ones where he's just asleep and the guy who he's supposed to box out comes running into the basket.
Well, and it doesn't count.
Those are blow-bys too.
And it doesn't count the one where he takes a three and he ridiculously flops and he never gets up off his butt while he's yelling at the referee and everybody else goes to the other end and the Celtics get a wide open three.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Luka has played even mediocre defense. He's been an issue defensive in this series for sure. I'm just saying
his defense has been terrible, but the reason that the Celtics the reason the series is where it's at is because the Celtics are playing like an all-time great team.
Yeah,
that's the story.
And the Mavericks have played well enough defensively as a team to have a chance to win the series. They cannot score. They haven't cracked triple digits.
No.
Wonder if did they ever go, you think, 3 games this season in a row without breaking 100? I'd be surprised.
Certainly not 3 when Luka and Kyrie played. I'd have to look at that. But I mean, and that's the thing. Like, late in the season when they went on that run, it wasn't that, oh my gosh, Luka and Kyrie are lighting up. Well, no, duh. Like, they're two historically elite offensive players. The reason you started to think the Mavs might actually have a chance to make a deep playoff run is because they became, during that stretch, the number 1 defense in the league. Now, I'm not saying they were the best defense in the league. I'm just saying statistically during that stretch, you saw them saying, okay, hey, that is a team that's legitimately become a good defensive team.
It took until Christmas for the Mavs, by the way, to have 3 games where they didn't score 100 points total.
Right. And so you said if they've got
not 3 in a row.
Not 3 in a row. 3 total.
3 total.
Took till Christmas. I'm going through to see if there was more. When there was a time when they had back-to-back where they had under.
But hey, if the Mavericks are a good defensive team, they've got a chance because they've got 2 guys who are among the best offensive players in the league. And that got them all the way to the finals. And then 2 of the best offensive players in the league aren't good enough to give them a chance in this series.
It's a quick cursory look, but I don't believe the Mavericks ever had back-to-back games with less than 100 points before this series. And now that's 3 in a row.
That's an ode to the Celtics as much as anything.
Yeah, they definitely.
They did actually. I take that back. They did in
playoffs.
The first 2 games of the. Oh, I almost pulled up a highlight package. They did in the first 2 games of the Mavs Clippers series, and then they had 101 in Game 3.
I think they did again in the second round.
And then in the second round, they had 95 in one game. Yeah, but no, they never had more than those 2 games against the Clippers, who, by the way, are the closest facsimile to the Celtics that there is, and Kawhi wasn't exactly healthy. That's the only time it was close to looking like this. And Boston's showing why they were the best team in the league all season.
Yeah, wire to wire.
Yeah, so they're looking to be the first team ever in the history of the NBA. No one's ever swept the conference finals and finals.
It'd be pretty good. We tie the 0-1 Lakers as being the only 2 teams to go 8-0 on the road and win the title.
And the 0-1 Lakers were 15-2. They would be 16-2 if they won. 16-1, right? 16-1.
15-1.
15-1.
That was the Allen Iverson. The one game they lost was in LA when Allen Iverson stepped over Ty Lue.
Yeah. So I don't know. Jason Kidd was asked a couple of things about what he could look at today, and I think he's kind of out of answers.
Well, listen,
they were out of answers in the first half of Game 3, as you immediately pointed out when he's throwing 11 guys out there in the first 18 minutes.
It's literally midway through the second quarter. They had played 11 guys. You don't play 11 guys because you believe in 11 guys. You play 11 guys because you're trying to figure out who the hell you feel okay with being on the floor. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. had been in mothballs, and he played whatever it was, 19 minutes last night. Didn't hit a shot. Minus, I think, 16 in those 19 minutes. It didn't go well. I think you can certainly second guess, hey, isn't there a reason you yanked him out of the rotation? Why didn't you stick with Exum or, even Jaden Hardy? Those minutes didn't go well, but that just tells you how desperately J. Kidd is in Game 3 of a finals searching for some kind of solutions. And that's the thing. They've got 2 superstars. P.J. Washington has been a great addition. But he's a 4th or 5th starter type of guy.
Yeah.
Gafford is one of the better backup bigs in the league who's been starting for them. But, going forward, I think they know, okay, Luka and Kyrie PJ is a nice complementary piece. Lively as the long-term big man of the future. They hope to re-sign Derek Jones. He got his minutes cut last night. And then they're kind of, Gafford's a backup big, but, they're kind of – they need – this roster needs to get better for them to have a chance to have a ring. And that's been clear in this series. The difference between the Mavericks and the Celtics from a talent perspective has been, pretty alarming.
Well, and again, you keep going back to the offense, right, for Dallas. And there's a lot of times when there are 2 or 3 non-shooters on the court at the same time for the Mavericks. Because I know P.J. Washington had the series of his life against the Thunder. He's more a non-shooter.
The Thunder fans, I think P.J. Washington's 1-9 on threes in the finals.
Well, and he couldn't make a shot in the conference finals either. I mean, he's much closer to a non-shooter than a shooter.
Well, and he was a
general.
32% shooter during the regular season. Again, the Thunder's game plan made sense. He just torched it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there are times when they've got Maxi Kleber, who doesn't want to shoot right now, and Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington out there together. They've got Dante Exum out there, or they've got Derek Jones, who, again, is a guy who can hit a three, but is not really a shooter. Whereas you look at the Celtics, when Porzingis is out there, they got 8 guys you definitely have to worry about. And when he's not, they've got 7. And it's just a totally different thing when every guy on the court you've got to account for, as opposed to saying, hey, I could take a break on this guy. It's just a massive difference.
They've done a great job of like those great looks that P.J. Washington and Derek Jones Jr. They've gotten some looks, but Alex Santiago of our Stats and Info group just put this in the old Slack channel that I'm tech savvy enough to search. Luka's been held to single-digit assist opportunities 6 times in his postseason career. 2 of those have been in this series, and it's not because he's not willing to pass. They're not
letting them.
They're not there. Those lasers to the corner aren't there. Those lobs aren't there. Transition, you can't. The Celtics have been like, you ain't running against us.
Nope.
That stuff has not been there. Tell you what, you've been on Maxey this whole series, and it was a rough one last night. He got the ball in the wing and he was open, but he's not a willing shooter right now. And then you realize, I got to shoot this thing. I forgot who it was that had the chance to close on him at that point, and they swatted that thing.
I think it was Jalen.
I think it was Jalen. Yes, they swatted that thing, and fortunately,
his release looked like mine.
Fortunately, it looked like I just got some shots up in a sport coat, and that's what it looked like. But fortunately, Jaylen Brown got on top of it, and so swatted it straight down. Because if he'd had his hand, the ball might have hit me in the face because I'm sitting in those good seats where you guys are up in the nosebleeds.
It went straight up in the air, and then it came down, and Maxey tried to catch it, and it bounced off his foot out of bounds.
That's right.
I mean, it was just like
it was just like, man, that was a tough one.
But look, that's the thing. Like, that's where the Maxi Kleber injury actually does really hurt them. Because Maxey is the kind of player that, in theory, would be a great fit in this series because of his ability to move his feet on defense, switch on to multiple guys,
and space it,
and be a spacer, and is a very high IQ basketball player who they can have out there and can adapt to any situation. Because you need that against the Celtics team, which is also super smart and does a lot of different stuff. And with him not being able to shoot again, you're talking about just so many non-shooters, and it comes back to the math game. Like, it's just so much of what the Celtics do is about winning the math game, and they're dominating the math game in this series.
I want to talk about the Troel Embiid tweet last night.
I didn't see what the big fella do last
night. I skimmed by this, but I didn't dive in.
I gotta go find it.
You're gonna have to break it down.
All right, but Bontemps is holding his phone. He can get it unless he deleted it.
Oh no. Delete. Oh, so if Joel deleted it?
Yeah.
I didn't know Joel did any tweets last night.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. What do we got?
He's had a lot of time to craft these things. He's been out since the first round.
I wonder if I hacked Embiid's Twitter. I'm not selling PS5s on there, though. Did the Bucks give them the championship? Yes, I said this the day they made the trade. I said the Celtics are going to win the championship because they got Jrue Holiday. That was I said it the day of. I went back and listened to both our pods the other day because I was curious what we said about it at the time.
He was checking his
No,
work.
I knew what I said, but I just wanted to remember the whole tenor of the conversation because a lot of it we spent talking about all the different teams that could trade for Jrue that day. And
I think Celtics were near the top of our list.
They were at the top.
Well, and you know what, though? For all the talk of, hey, the growing pains that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and this group went through and how they've, learned from their experiences, all that is true. And then, just like the Bucks did a few years back, they went out and got a phenomenal finishing piece in Jrue Holiday.
And by the way, Jrue Holiday wanted to play on the Celtics. Like,
Yeah,
he was on the Blazers, and he had a couple options of where he could go. And
5 teams is what I was told.
I think it was even less than 5.
Okay,
but
I was told 5.
But he wanted to be here. He wanted to play with the Celtics. He wanted to be on this team, and it's an unbelievable fit. And like, again, yes, it's the truest thing. Those guys have made big strides. Jaylen Brown has had the 2 best playoff series of his career in the conference finals and the NBA finals. He's been awesome. Jason Tatum, as we've talked about a lot, he might not be what everybody wants him to be all the time, but he's always available. He does a lot of different things. He can fill in different gaps.
Top 10 player in the league, no doubt.
No, for sure. Game 2, he gets a ton of rebounds and assists. Game 3, he was part of the struggles in the fourth quarter, but he got them back in the game with the huge run in the first quarter. So all these guys fill in the gaps. But Jrue Holiday coming in here as arguably the best perimeter defender in the league, put him on Kyrie Irving and just shut him down for the first couple games. You can have him guard Joel Embiid. You can have him guard any player virtually in the league.
Yeah.
And he's such a stabilizing, steadying presence.
Embiid's saying that. He's trolling the Bucks.
He's trolling everybody.
Yeah.
Is he
That's what he's
trolling his
doing.
own GM?
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
I'll tell you what. Hey, big summer for Daryl Morey. And
I
you've
think-
got all,
I think if you're an Eastern Conference team and you're looking at what Boston's doing, in the West, Mavericks were the 5 seed. You can make a case that under certain circumstances, it could have been Denver here. Obviously, could have been Minnesota here. I mean, Dallas.
Oklahoma City gave the Mavericks the toughest series.
So, but if you're in the East and you're watching what Boston's doing and you're about to go into your off season here, you better step up your game.
Yeah.
The whole league better step up its game. I mean, look, the Celtics, I go back, I really try to study what works in the playoffs and try to apply it forward. And
the professor over here.
Well, but being around,
usually that's not what teams do.
Being
Teams
around the
usually say,
Raptors-
we're not going to do what works.
well, listen, I would say more people should do it. Being around the Raptors in 2019, the thing that really stood out about that team that stuck with me since then was that they had 8 guys in the rotation who were all neutral or better at both ends.
Mhm.
There was nobody you could pick on. There was no, hey, there's a Luka to attack. There's a guy that isn't going to shoot that we can, there's no Josh Giddey to run away from and leave him alone.
More shrapnel.
Well, whoever.
for Josh.
Pick the guy. You could say Maxi Kleber right now, whoever you want to say. There was nobody at either end that you could just wipe off the board. And then you talked about it a ton last year with Denver, right? What did you say over and over about Denver last year?
No, I don't recall, but it sounds like he's about to.
You don't remember what you said over and over
Just
about their
remind me.
team construction? Their size. Their
Oh, yeah.
size
Yeah.
across the board. And you look at the Celtics team is big across the board, and they've got positive
their
guys.
smalls are big.
They're right. Their smalls are big. They can play big on the wing. They've got 2 7-footers who can both shoot. So, they've got shooting everywhere. They've got versatility at both ends everywhere, and they've got size everywhere.
Well,
that's the modern NBA in a nutshell.
And the thing, you hear so much about small ball in the league, and the league's going smaller. It's not really about going smaller. It's about going more skilled. So big
right.
skill is going to beat small skill.
The key
What you
is
want
always-
is as much skill as possible. And then, if you have big versatile guys, it's going to be better than small
That's right.
versatile guys.
The thing about small ball, like when the death lineup, all those things, when the Suns went super small back in the day, when the Mavs went super small back in the day, it was because there wasn't enough big size that was also skilled, right? It was like, let's get more skilled guys on the court and we'll beat you because they're faster and quicker and more talented. Now you've got Victor Wembanyama. You've got all these guys that are like crazy unicorn type guys that are big and can do all this stuff. And that's, for all these teams going forward, that's going to be the challenge. Get as much shooting that also can hold up on defense that's also got size. The Celtics have done a remarkable job the last several years methodically building this team, adding Derek White, getting back Al Horford, getting Jrue Holiday, getting Kristaps Porzingis, finding Sam Hauser off the scrap heap. They drafted Peyton Pritchard late in the first round. They have done a remarkable job of team building, just like the Nuggets did last year. And that, you're going to have to, in the modern league with the new cap rules, with the amount of restrictions on everything, you're going to have to do things creatively and find a lot of different ways to add talent and be very prudent about your spending.
Right. And that's why I'm with Philly, because, Paul George is here working for us. I'm not so sure that that's the move for Philly. You had Paul George to Philly. Are they beating Boston?
I'll tell you what. If you have Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid if they can, especially if they could say bring back Batum, Oubre, and Kyle Lowry, that's a pretty good team.
Yeah, if healthy.
Obviously, if healthy is a huge thing, but
that's big. But Paul George definitely fits in the category of size and skill. I mean, he is a super skilled, versatile, two-way 6'9" guy.
That's true, but I'm just thinking about if you're thinking about matching up with the Celtics, you need wing defense, and you need.
We know what the Celtics don't have, really? Somebody to guard Joel Embiid. And if you put a bunch of long wing defenders around Joel Embiid and then him running pick and rolls with Tyrese Maxey, we're talking a lot about the Sixers who lost in the first round.
Well,
Horford's been that guy, but like as you get into your late 30s,
it's a little different now. It's a little different now in the last couple of years. But look, the point is, you're right. As we go into this summer, where there's a lot of stuff that's probably going to happen, we've talked so many times about how active this summer is going to be. And also, full credit to the Mavs, right? You look at what the Mavs have done this year, making the moves they made, getting lively last summer, couple smart, getting Derek Jones as a minimum signing last summer. Frankly, Dante Exum was a really good signing on a cheap deal last summer. Then you go trade for P.J. Washington, you go trade for Daniel Gafford, you're in the finals. All that's going to do is say to people, hey, if we make a couple moves, especially out west where there's a ton of good teams, if we make the right couple moves, maybe we're in the finals.
The Mavs completely reconstructed the supporting cast around Luka and Kyrie and went from a team that didn't make the play-in and tanked the last couple games. That didn't cost them a play-in bid. That saved their pick, and that was a huge part of the reconstruction because then you get Derek Lively. But so they went from lottery to the finals, and a lot of that was just reconstructing the supporting cast and becoming bigger and more.
That's
athletic.
That's why my mind is drifting towards transaction season because we're almost there. And I'm thinking about the type of players.
Yeah, that could start signing your own players on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of,
you've got this thing definitely ending.
Well, I'm just saying it could be, as soon as Saturday. If the series ends tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, the players who are going to be available and the options and whatnot. So,
there's a lot going on.
That's for them. What's for now is Game 4, which is on Friday. And we'll be talking to you afterwards. And maybe we'll be talking to you on Monday. I don't know. We'll talk to you on Monday either way because we have a podcast on Monday either way.
Yeah, what are you doing? You resigning? You going out resigning. On a, retiring?
I'm resigned. I'm not resigning. All right. This is the Hoop Collective. Thank you. Brought to you by Coinbase. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Jackson and Audie, our producers. Thank you to Bontemps and McMahon. Thank you to the Mavericks for letting us use their practice court. We'll be talking to you, I don't know, in a few hours.
Adios, amigos.